function, and the function affects the derivative. And then 2 and 3 deals with rules, and then 4 was like the first application of rules that you have. It's just 13 questions. I'll have it open up, we'll say about 5 minutes before class starts, and then we'll end a little bit after class to give you time to submit it. But it's 13 questions. To give you some breakdown, like most of it is rules and just like finding the derivative. 3 of them will deal with like tangent lines or horizontal tangent, and then 6 of them are going to deal with curve sketching or justifying your answer based off of f prime or f. Of those 6, you're only sketching 2 graphs. So there's one of them that will be from the function to the derivative, and then there's another one that goes from the derivative to the function. Those other 4 questions are going to ask you to talk about like at x equals 2 is the graph increasing, and then kind of justifying your answer, why or why not. Any questions you might have in general about your quiz before I do the review that I want to do?
Will we actually have to like graph like the derivative version of like f, or like the other way around, or is it just like the justifying answers?
You will actually have to graph it, yes. And it's just 2 of them. One will be from f to f prime, and the other one will be from, I call it g prime to g. But I tried to keep it, like it's still calculus level, but I tried to make it so it's not overly complicated of a graph to draw out by hand. But again, for those, I will just be kind of grading you based off of just the general shape, if it's correct or incorrect. Any other questions about the quiz? All right, the other thing I want to tell you, like Dr. Shaw literally just sent it out during lunch about what next week is going to start looking like. I'll print it out and export it as a PDF and send to you via Remind in case your parents don't share the emails they get with you. The short version of it is starting next week, if you and your family opt into it, students will start phasing in, and students will be coming in either Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday. It is by household last name because some students have different last names from siblings, or different parents have different last names. And that can be found, I don't know, we literally just found out this information, but it can be found out somewhere. I assume in Infinite Campus, which group you're assigned to. Wednesdays will become an asynchronous day, so we won't actually have class meetings on Wednesdays anymore. Instead, you'll be assigned stuff, but you just complete it sometime throughout the school day period. Again, this is all brand new to teachers. We just found out this information less than an hour ago, some of the details of it. But I'll send the full PDF out to you so you can kind of read through it. I will say, if you're trying to determine like if it's worth coming in or not, like I can't make that decision for you. It's kind of what you and your family feel safe with. But I will tell you is like maximum only 25% of the kids will be in the building at a time. So teachers are still going to have to teach for the majority, which is obviously the majority is going to be at home. So everyone will be told to like still bring your devices, still make sure it's fully charged. We've been told to limit any physical copies, so like there still won't be like papers to pass out or collect. Everything is still going to be in OneNote. And the only difference is like I'll be teaching the same way. There'll just be maybe like 9 or less kids in the room. So I will have to be wearing a mask if there's ever kids in my room while I'm teaching, which hopefully won't affect the sound quality for people at home, but that is kind of how it has to be. Once I can kind of read through it, then I'll give you more details. We have a faculty meeting tomorrow. What's it? Wednesday? Yeah, no, I don't even know what today is. Our faculty meeting's not until Thursday, but hopefully we have some more details before the weekend. So yeah, does that bring up any questions you might have that you think I know the answer to? All right, again, it's kind of all new and happening pretty quickly. But I will, of course, as I usually do, share stuff with you as I find it out. But I'll send that email to you via Remind once I get a chance to export it as a PDF. So as a review, I did just want to like pick up a few problems. This is something I've made think I made it the first year I taught AB calculus. And it just deals with some common mistakes I saw when people were doing problems like this. And so what I did is I had a problem where I asked the derivative to be found, and I gave a common wrong answer, and then we're just going to kind of use like fixing it as the warm up, and then I have 2 questions relating to tangent, and then basically you'll have the rest of the time to ask me questions or just work on your homework. First mistake I often see if people are taking the derivative of the quantity 2x to the 3rd power is they want to use the power rule, but remember the power rule really only works when we have x raised to a power. So the proper way to do this one is to first rewrite it, so it becomes x cubed, and then you can take the derivative and you get 24x squared. And there's some other problems like that on homework number 2. That second and third row deals with the product and the quotient rule. I don't think anyone in this class will make that mistake unless they're just rushing. But remember, if you have 2 things being multiplied with x or 2 things being divided by x, you either need to find a way to rewrite it, or you need to use the product or the quotient rule. So the second one, we know for the product rule, the order doesn't really matter since you are adding it. So you just take the derivative of one piece and multiply it by the derivative of the other. Whereas for the quotient rule, the order does matter a little bit more because you are subtracting. So we have low d high less high d low. Draw my line, and down below the bottom squared will go. Sometimes you can simplify a quotient rule by factoring and cancel. The only thing you can really do in this one is factor out an x and cancel it. And it doesn't simplify to anything too nice, but you can factor out an x from that.
You wouldn't care if we factored it out, right?
Say it one more time.
You wouldn't care if we factor it out next, like we could just leave it.
I wouldn't, but I will say some of my problems I have, like I'll say find the derivative, and then this next question after it will see which of the following is equivalent to your derivative, so you might be forced to simplify it to do the multiple choice questions.
Okay.
Like I guess it's kind of clear now. One of the questions deals with the quotient rule, and in order to match it up A, B, C, or D, you'll have to simplify it a little bit. And then this fourth one, again, this is similar to that first one. That is the same thing as saying 3x to the 1/2 power, but again, we can't use the power rule unless it's just x to a power. So the proper way to think about that one as the square root of 3 times x to the 1/2. So that 1/2 comes down in front, joining the square root of 3, and then subtracting 1, so I get x to the negative 1/2. You can simplify this and write it as the square root of 3 over 2 square root of x. And then this last one, I just didn't edit my worksheet. In AB, we learned things spaced out a little bit differently. I think it was for their test review, actually. We haven't learned how to do when we have a function inside of a function, but that's what we'll be learning after the quiz. Any questions on those 4?
How did you get x to the negative 1/2? Because isn't it like, don't you do 1 minus 1/2?
I do the original exponent minus 1. 1/2 minus 1 is negative 1/2.
Okay.
Because it's n times x to the n minus 1, where n was the original exponent.
Okay.
Like that, what I just put in the name part. And then the other part I wanted to review is tangent lines. So I want to do these 2 questions, and then I'll basically, if you want to leave, you can leave the meeting. If you want to stay, you can stay. I know I said I was going to do that other tangent line problem, but I'm just honestly not going to worry about it until I have some more class time. We might go back and learn those type of problems later in the year, but I'm not worried about that last tangent problem I did not get to in the notes yesterday. There won't be one like it on the quiz. So these are 2 examples of tangent line problems. One is just being able to find the tangent line, which you should be able to do. If this was a normal line, we know that's just going to be the reciprocal of the slope. And then I also have being able to find a horizontal tangent. So first, remember, if you're ever being asked to find the line tangent, you do need to have the point and a slope. Take the derivative first before you do any substitution. So I have the derivative of 2 cosecant. We know the derivative of any of our co-trig functions are negative, and the derivative of cosecant is the product of cosecant and cotangent. To find the slope at 2 pi over 3, you want to plug 2 pi over 3 into the derivative. I'm fine with you leaving answers unsimplified, but I do want you to at least evaluate trig. Don't leave it as the cosecant of 2 pi over 3. Make sure you go back and evaluate it. So evaluating my slope, I have -2. The cosecant of 2 pi over 3 is 2 over root 3. The cotangent, which is cosine over sine, is -1 over root 3. So we see that the slope actually ends up being +4 over 3. Things you could interpret from the graph at that point is, you know that if y prime is positive, then we know that this graph is increasing at 2 pi over 3. To finish this out, to do the tangent line, we do need the y coordinate. To find the y coordinate, you plug it into the original function. So I have 2 times the cosecant, which is just 4 over square root of 3. And then, of course, finish out the problem. The tangent line will be y minus the y coordinate times the slope is equal to the slope, of x minus the x coordinate. And that would be your tangent line. If instead you were asked to write the normal line, what's the only thing you would need to switch up in that problem?
The slope.
The slope. And if it was a normal line, it would be a slope of -3/4. And then last tangent line problem I'm going to do now is with a horizontal tangent. If you see a problem that mentions a horizontal tangent, what's the main idea that you need to go through? Or what process do you do? Set the derivative equal to 0. So horizontal tangent, I want it to always scream out to you in your head that you're basically finding when the derivative is equal to 0. So we do want to find the derivative first, and I can use the power rule to do that. 4 is a constant, so it goes away, and set it equal to 0 and solve. We get x squared is equal to 4. So x is equal to plus or minus 2. So this graph does have 2 locations where the tangent is horizontal. That actually makes sense if you graph this problem. Y ends up looking something like that. It's a cubic function. And we can see that at 2 places it does have a horizontal tangent, which I don't have it graphed, but if you were to graph it, those would occur at x equals -2 and x equals +2. And that connects back to some of that meaning of what does it mean for a graph to have a horizontal tangent line. So your quiz is tomorrow. Again, the quiz grade can be replaced by the test grade, but I think most of you are pretty good with this topic. Trying to think of anything else I need to tell you. Yeah, review your homeworks, numbers 1 through 4. Obviously, if this was a normal school year, you would not have a formula sheet and have all those derivative rules memorized, all those trig ones memorized. I can't really control that right now. So if you have it, I just don't need to know. But again, the meeting will be running tomorrow if you want to join it, if you have any last minute questions. But at this point, I'm not ending the meeting, but if you would like to leave and study on your own, that is perfectly fine. I would make sure that you have homeworks 1 through 4 completed before your quiz. If you want to stay in the meeting, that's fine. If you want to leave, go in and out of it, you can. Or I'm also here to answer questions and go over any problems you want me to from the homework. So yeah, if you're leaving now, then enjoy the rest of your day. And if you want to stay in and ask questions, then someone can unmute their mic and go first. And I'm going to stop the recording as well.